Hello, and welcome to Extraordinary Chats with Presi-FUN-dent and T-Rex. I'm T-Rex, and we're calling Presi-FUN-dent.
Hello, hello, citizen.
Howdy, howdy. Long time no hear from.
Yeah, I know. A whole 30 minutes almost. Sorry, I totally had a different tab, open, and I wasn't on top of your message that you sent me, so I was 3 minutes late for responding to it. My bad. Yeah, I figured,
I figured you might be outside smoking or doing whatever. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
So anyway, when we left off, you were talking about your mishap in court, or your mishap, or your mishap. I don't know. Trying to make funny out of it.
Yeah. I'm choking on the fresh air in my place because I don't smoke. Well, yeah. Okay, so I was trying to have a little bit of fun because, this dude has really pissed me off at this point. And I was, going to do my usual thing, not, in the false restraining order filed against me. They're like, Chris is violent. And it's man, I'm the least violent person you ever met. It's they're saying shit about me then they don't know anything about me. But I was just going to give the dude my I'm really upset at you look, which I think I'm really good at. And then I got around to thinking, I'm oh my god, I would love to stare at this dude, to give him my upset at you look, and while making eye contact fart. I found it a very amusing idea. So I tried to make that happen, and I ate a bunch of beans the day before because I'm all right, we're going to open up some cans of beans and we're going to fucking head to Fart City, and I couldn't muster a fart at all in court, and I was a little disappointed. I just wanted to do one. I wasn't going to go crazy. I did fantasize a little bit about maybe interrupting him when he said something really stupid with the fart, but I figured that first idea that I said, making my upset at you look while making eye contact and farting was pretty much the goal. I wanted to accomplish just one of those. And, and I was just unable to do it. And then the day before mediation, because they're we're going to set this out for mediation, blah, blah, blah. So at mediation, the day before I bought some asparagus and cabbage. And this time I'm I'm going to drink some of the bean juice as well instead of rinsing them off like I did the first time. And still I couldn't fart, and I was really disappointed with myself, and I'm sorry I couldn't accomplish this. I feel really kind of bad. But I was just trying to have a little fun. Speaking of fun though, I did have some fun when I showed up to mediation, because I usually have smiley face stickers on me. I saw this chick with some really cool ink. And I'm oh my God, you got to have a smiley face sticker. I have them in 4 different colors. Which one do you want? And she was actually kind of psyched about it too, because who the fuck does that? I think that's something that I get from my friend Misty, because she would do the sticker thing too. So kind of people that I interact with, kind of some of their good or better parts rub off on me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
yeah.
Who doesn't like
it's
stickers?
how I human.
Who doesn't like stickers and interactions and, meet new people and here's a sticker,
Yeah, and I'm all cute about it, and I'm they fit on the back of the hand, So. And actually, oh my God, when I got out of court, I did that again. But so upon going to mediation, I usually have these fingerless gloves that I normally wear for my style. Not that I'm some biker or anything. It's just my little goth style. And so I usually put the sticker on my mask. Is a picture you have of me with a sticker on my mask, because you got to put it somewhere. And for me specifically, the back of the hand is not a good place for it. So I just put it on the mask. But I usually offer it to people, and I'm like, I throw in that, yeah, you could throw it on the back of your hand. You'd look really dope, and anyway. So I offered myself a smiley face sticker, and then I offered the mediator a smiley face sticker. And then I was like, I cannot offer the petitioner a sticker because I don't have no frowny face stickers. I just try to have fun with the shitty situation as all, And then it just so happened I had some other stickers that have like little like phrases on them. And one of them was, "You're making history." And I'm like, oh shit, look, I'm going to put this one on my mask too.
That's hilarious.
Because we're making history here. This guy is, he actually said at mediation, he said a lot of things. But he was ripping on my open drug, usage, talks that, like, he's trying to dig for something in my past to like discredit what I'm doing or what's happening now, like between Voodoo Leatherworks and me. It's like
a lot of judges are very Christian
desperate
and anti-drugs, so I can see why they would use that tactic. So I mean, it makes sense that they would try that. But then again, most people nowadays are realistic to the times and understand that drug use isn't always 100% negative. Granted, a lot of people use them because of the negatives in their lives, and it helps like stress relief and helps you calm down at the end of the day.
Or they have a self-destructive kind of, mindset, and they're like, this drug, is going to be the way I self-destruct.
Meanwhile,
like a negative view of drugs.
Right, and most of the time, those people are usually like hardcore alcoholics that condemn anybody that does any like recreational drugs just to kind of have a nice Friday night or whatever. It's like they're not doing anything different than you, except for they're
altering their reality a little bit, and having a little bit of fun.
Yeah, I don't see an issue as long as it's not, as long as you're paying your bills and your kids are fed and got a roof over their head. What the fuck, just don't.
Well, that's freedom
over it. Yeah,
right? Like we're so free and we're the freest country, but no one ever talks about like even uncomfortable things, and I have no problem talking about uncomfortable things. I think I've been sort of clear about that, talking about drugs and a sex club and everything. And then I think I mentioned this before, but like, we breezed through the mediation last time we chatted, but he was talking ill about drugs, and then this guy might want to shoot us all or whatever the fuck he was implying. He said something along those lines, like, well, no, and it's like, because I dress goth, so therefore I look weird, so therefore I'm going to grab a gun, which is the obvious like thing that I did, right? I bitched at them through some chat messages, and then I started protesting them, pretty much picking up the gun.
You basically had a gun to their head.
Yeah, exactly. And I made them shoot themselves in the foot, with the stupid ass mistakes they did that set me up for some good legal action against them. I mean, I guess that's the only gun is a metaphoric gun of them shooting themselves in the foot. But anyway, that's how I see it, at least. But yeah, I've never held a gun. I feel really uncomfortable. When I once did, I held a Luger that my grandfather got off at that Nazi, and it made me feel really uncomfortable. And anyway, so I mean, I don't mind if other people have guns. I'm not down with extended ammo clips or assault weapons. Maybe we could have these assault weapons, at like a fucking like gun range and keep it there.
Yeah,
and maybe some bigger guns too. Like
I'm all for stuff
like
we
that.
Could give safe gun ownership.
Yeah,
and gun ranges are the only place you can have fully automatic anything. So that's
keep
basically
it tightly regulated. Like,
yeah, if you want a hunting rifle and a shotgun and a pistol at your house, I'm fine with that. But do you need fucking 19 shotguns and 28 rifles and a fucking, a fucking 14 gun safes full of pistols and like all this shit. It's like I've seen shit like that. I'm just like, Psycho Land. Like, if something if a war breaks out, people, the army's gonna come to your house and be like, all right, we need some of your supplies, sir, and you're gonna be fucked anyway. And if you don't comply, what do you think's really gonna happen?
Yeah.
It's just,
you'll very least be detained or something, you know, like have your freedoms taken.
Yeah, if the FBI or CIA or whoever found out about David Koresh's fucking stockpile of guns, and look what happened to them. They were pretty much peaceful until fucking it wasn't. You know what I mean? And look how many people fucking died over that shit.
Well, they could have done things so much more differently and safely, but they, you know, I think it was just like, you know, the fucking people in law enforcement getting overzealous.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying bad people. I'm not saying it wasn't somewhat due to them, like, you know, making snap judgments or whatnot, but I'm just saying when you do stuff like that, you draw huge target on yourself. It draws a lot of attention, especially from the government, because why does a group of 40 people need 400 guns? From the underage sex. They probably got more attention from the underage sex that was going on there than the fucking like guns and everything. But they're like, let's use the guns as the reason to, you know, and then let's like stumble in there, you know, because a dog attacked somebody or something. I don't know. Well, my main point was, if you got a couple guns, I get it. If you got fucking more guns than your neighborhood could use, I don't really get it. Unless you're like a historical collector and they're all like old fucking tiny war guns or some shit. That makes sense. Like historical fucking shit. But if you just got
they could be properly vetted, you know, like they could disclose themselves. Like when I did some street performing in Chicago a long time ago, I needed to get a performer's license, and you could get like a collector's license, I'm sure. You know, like they do that probably with cars or some shit. You know, they have the special like collectors like insurance or something like that, where you could like drive the car on the weekend or something.
Yeah, well, I wasn't even saying that. I was just saying, like, as a morality thing, I don't think it's. Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's not acceptable or that nobody should have it. It's not a video
game like real life. Yeah, like people want to like people like
fucking Matrix arsenal. You know what I mean? Just calm the fuck down. Yeah, exactly. You got a pistol, a shotgun, and a hunting rifle. What the fuck else do you need? A box of ammo for each one. Okay, and then. What the fuck?
An extended ammo clip and a bump stock so I could fucking automate it, you know.
It's like, what are you fucking afraid of, dude? Calm the fuck down. I knew guys that
that's the propaganda. It scares the shit out of people.
I did pizza delivery and I've been robbed at knife point, and I carry a big ass knife in my car now, like a Rambo survival knife and a machete junior. But the machete's for other stuff. Is more like for, you know, I take walks in the woods and shit, so that's more for that. But the survival knife is fucking. Well, you never know what survival situation you may end up, especially walking alone in the woods. But if you're out and about and fucking somebody puts a fucking knife to your throat and you pull out a fucking knife that will cut their arm off, they might hesitate, you know what I mean? Or if you're carrying one already or whatever, or you going in a bad neighborhood at night and you just kind of flash your big giant knife, you know what I'm saying? People will be like, well, it ain't a gun, but I'm scared because he's a psycho because he's got a big fucking scary knife, you know what I mean? So nobody's gonna fuck with you. But
well, yeah, but I don't know how that would help a situation. Like,
well, I'm just saying,
I had a knife pulled on me.
I felt more
back on the bus.
I felt more comfortable with my big giant knife on me delivering pizzas, having had been robbed with a little tiny pocket knife through my throat, like, you know, a while before. But what I was saying is, I know guys that carry guns around to pizza delivery drive, and I'm thinking, firstly, it's concealed, so nobody would even know you have it. So really, you're scared of everything else. Now, obviously, me carrying that big ass knife is because I'm scared, but also at the same time, you can't hide it. It's so fucking big. You know what I'm saying? So if you put stuff in your pocket, it sticks out of your fucking waist like fucking 8 inches. You know what I'm saying? So people are gonna see it, and I'm not gonna walk up to a door that's fully brightly lit and it's all hanging out, because then the people at the door are gonna be like, holy fuck, is this guy gonna fucking eat my family or something? But sometimes you got to go to the back apartment and fucking drop some shit off.
I know. I used to deliver drive for a few years, but I never got robbed.
I got robbed at Knife Point once, and then one other time someone attempted to, but I saw it coming and I shut the door, the apartment door, and they just stood out there and waited. And I went and told the people upstairs that I needed to use their phone. Yeah, because I didn't have this was way back in the day, and I didn't have a cell phone. And so I used their phone to call Domino's. Domino's called the cops, and then cops showed up and fucking dude dipped. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyways, my point was, I know a couple guys that fucking would carry a gun on them, and I'm like, firstly, when I got robbed, it was so quick, and at first I thought it was a friend because the coat he was wearing looked like a friend's coat, so I thought it was a guy that lived in the neighborhood, and I thought he was just fucking with me. I thought it was his thumb up against my coat until I pushed his arm back and realized, holy fuck, there's a knife at my throat. This dude means business. Now, if I had a gun on me and I reached for the gun, I'm getting poked in the neck. You know what I'm saying? It's over before I get the gun out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like having a weapon on you, like I'm sure it makes you feel safe. Like I've been bringing my umbrella with me. It's this cane umbrella.
Yeah, but that's not tucked away in your waistline under your belt where you have to like pull out and do all this shit to get to it. You know what I mean?
I'm like Mary Poppins about it. You know, or it's around my wrist, and I just kind of hold my arm up in a way like I'm a servant, and I have something draped over my arm.
Like
but I'm just hanging the umbrella from it.
Nunchuck.
Yeah, it makes me feel safe, you know. Like I even brought it to the courthouse to prove to the douchebag that it's not one of those stupid ass like sword like cane thingies. Oh man, those are so stupid. Has anyone ever used one of those like ever? Like aside to open up like a bag or some shit. You got a knife? Yeah, well, I got this little cane, thing, it has a sword in it.
I think someone got arrested on a subway for using that on someone. Like, they literally attacked somebody with it. Like, someone said
those are so stupid, and they're obvious.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you could tell in the handle.
I understand why people carry weapons or whatever. It's just, it's something about having an excessive amount of guns just kind of fucks with me. And I'm not anti-gun at all, because like I said, I think a few guns in your house, as long as they're, got trigger locks or are in a safe or somewhere where they're packed away where children cannot get to them, in a locked room, in a locked closet, so they got 2 doors they got to get through to get to it, that's fucking fine. But just having like a warehouse of ammo and guns is just, to me, it just fucks with my brain. Like, well,
and how scared they are, and how much money they invest.
It makes me think of the guy. It makes me think of the guy in Vegas. Like, what the fuck can you get up to with that? You could do fucking an insane amount of shit, and you know what I mean? It's like, what are you really up to with all that shit? Why do you need all that shit? But I said, well, if you're a collector and it's all historical fucking shit, like, war guns and whatnot, or models they stopped making, or whatever the fuck, out of use type shit, whatever, that's fine. That's cool. But yeah, like, I don't know, you don't need a gun store in your fucking garage type shit, That's all I was getting at.
Oh yeah. That also, like, it may be like another reason, like the person's psyche, like the person that needs to have like all that shit and how scared they must be. Like, if it isn't like for malicious, like, reasons, maybe they're like, some covert, psychopath that wants to, murder people. But I think most people are just scared shitless. So it's like an addiction. It's like no different than any other addiction in life. Like, some people get tattoos and they can't stop getting tattoos, and then their whole body is tattooed. And same thing with guns. You know, they're just like, man, I got one gun now, and you get this other one, and then this other one, and then it just becomes like a habit.
I'm not gonna lie. I got a fucking collection of like airsoft pistols and pellet guns and BB guns. Like I got a dresser drawer full of them. Like I got this old dresser I throw fucking like tools and bullshit in, and I got a drawer full of fucking target practice guns. You know what I'm saying? But they're all just not toys, but you know what I mean. Basically, they're not lethal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But imagine if those were all like lethal weapons. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a bit.
Yeah, it'd be like maybe a little too much.
Yeah. I would feel unsafe with that many guns in my house.
Although you could probably fill a drawer with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like that's all fucking really okay. What's a shotgun for? Close range. Get the fuck off my property. Fucking, you live out in the wilderness and a fucking bear comes around. You know, maybe something like that. Fucking hunting rifle if you're gonna go hunting. And then I don't really even know what you need a pistol for. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you don't want, you know, the kickback of the shotgun, I guess,
yeah, I guess
right? You know,
I guess.
And the pistol could like shoot more, have more bullets readily available than a shotgun.
That's
true.
Depends if I guess if there's like a home invasion or something, yeah, I guess something like that.
Yeah. But like, I mean, yeah, we're a little too crazy and we're too lenient on the Second Amendment. It's like we ignore the well-regulated militia, which all these people are like, we're militia, that's why we need to have these guns. And it's like, man, you don't need to have military-style weapons. Just, you know, like, and I know the military has pistols too on them, but I think that's an acceptable crossover where the military has that. Like the military got vehicles too, and we got vehicles, all right, you know. So that's just, they wear clothes, we wear clothes. That's just, a pistol is like much different than like an AR-15 or some other like weapon of war.
Well, the military would use an M16. The AR-15 is basically a whittled down version of it, but
we don't need to have M16s or things that make them like that or anything like that. Like pistol, shotgun, rifles,
shot rifles.
What the Second Amendment should be.
Yeah. Like there's no reason to have anything more than semi-automatic because already that's just boom, 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 boom.
Well, they all have their fantasy scenarios, so they're like, well, what if 12 people come for me all at once, you know, and it's around my house, and I gotta fucking, you know, then I need to have that extended ammo thing, and I need to fire 60 bullets in a minute, you know, and it's like, man, your fantasies aren't worth all these fucking tragedies.
Those are only getting used in drive-bys, and like 12-year-old girls playing with their dolls get shot in the head over it, and that's like, you always hear stories like that. So-and-so was playing in her room and gets gunned down because her brother is part of a gang, and some dude saw him and fucking shot up the house, and then the only person that got hit is a 12-year-old girl or a 10-year-old boy or something like that. The Pigs
just did that in December. I think mid-December. In California, some cops. There was this guy running around
shot into a dressing room or something like that. Yeah.
Well, like he had a bike lock or something, and no cop wanted to fucking like risk any sort of injury by tackling him or anything like that. So they shot at him, and they killed the little like immigrant aspiring to be a citizen girl.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like they probably got paid time off too. You know, unlike your wife, you know, that is more deserving of paid time off, but like it goes to the cops. And they just did a shitty ass job. They just murdered somebody, and they fucking like, oh, you're tough call, man. You know, hang in there. You know, nobody even like probably giving him a third degree at all, and it should be publicly third degree. Like, oh my god, like to call that a good job, and you're getting fucking 5 or 6 figures. Oh, I'm so pissed off.
Yeah, it just. So in that situation, from what I hear, the guy had a bike lock and he was like banging on the racks, which sounds really loud. and someone must have construed that as, oh, that's gunshot, like bullets bouncing off of something, or you know what I mean, from far away. And so that's why the cops came in blazing or whatever. So
I don't buy it.
Yeah, there should have been I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm just saying to add to the context of what we're talking about. So anybody who doesn't know, that right there, you know, where is he at? What's behind him? What's behind the wall that's behind him? You know what I'm saying? What if that had been like a daycare or something behind there? You know what I'm saying? Fucking just, or whatever.
Well, I mean,
besides the point
adults deserve the same treatment too. So maybe it was a workout place or something.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, that makes it more extreme to me as children, you know, because they didn't get a chance.
Yeah, he
to
did
live
execute
a
a child, that could have turned into an adult had she given the chance.
Right. That's why I was emphasizing the point of children, because what if it had been more extreme? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's already sad that it happened in the first place, but they don't like think, well, what if it could have been worse? Oh, it killed one fucking person. Yeah, but that person had a full entire life ahead of them. What if somebody just snuffed you out right now? You know what I'm saying? I just don't get that like, power and authority. That it just
she can't even like develop a loving relationship with somebody that she's like into, like sexually after puberty, you know, like, and have fun like that. Like, she's never going to experience anything anymore because she's fucking dead because she did a shitty fucking job. Like, oh my God, I was so infuriated when I heard that shit. And then like the Twitter feeds, you know, the Twitter recommendations. So, like when you go to Twitter, it's like, what's happening on the right side? It's something that my spam block doesn't fucking block. But I saw like a week or two ago, it was like North Korea launches a missile, and it's like, oh, unlike America that launches missiles, you know, like we and in not a country, fucking multiple countries, you know. But North Korea launched a missile. I didn't really read or anything. I just like saw the headline and I was like, "Oh my fucking God!"
Well, I think it's the threat they give that North Korea is in a very extreme poverty right now. They have a lot of shit going on where they've propagandized to the population for so long, but the population obviously is catching on that shit ain't what it seems. You know what I mean? People are asking questions, but you know, their authoritarian government is still the same way it always has been. It cracks down. If you fucking act out or say something, you're gonna disappear. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's a tough place. That's a tough fucking country to live in. I wouldn't want to fucking live there. But so the threat
that's
of
why
them
you hear like people pole vaulting.
The threat of them having a fucking intercontinental ballistic missile is kind of a threat, because if they can, you know, even hit fucking Europe or Hawaii or any, don't
buy into the hype. They're just doing it. Like, look at our penis over here, guys.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. But still, there's still a threat that some shit can come flying out of anywhere. Or what if they fucking attack one of our allies or whatever, you know?
We would shoot that shit over the Pacific Ocean, and it would fucking like end up like at the bottom of the ocean, man. You know, there ain't no threat to nobody, man.
Well, yeah, I know, like logically that, you know, but who's to say? I'm just saying the slim chance, you know, better safe than sorry.
Well, that's the propaganda. Shit. They want you to be scared of a fucking, like, I'm never going to probably ever meet a North Korean in my entire life.
Oh, yeah.
Yet
yeah.
I'm like, you know, fucking like, you know, and it sucks what's happening over there, but we got problems of our own and we can't fucking be the world police on everybody. But I agree. I think we could do some covert shit in North Korea and maybe try to rescue some large groups of citizens. You know, I don't know. Like, you do.
If you want the fuck out, be here at this time. We will be picking up. What's that?
Yeah, actually taking the risk and, you know, like making the efforts instead of like, you know, clicking around on a computer that's being that's controlling a drone or some shit, you know.
Here's the thing though, our world works on bureaucracy and fucking red tape. You know what I'm saying? So cutting through all that bullshit, it's none of that.
Well,
shit's
it could
really
be
ever
like,
gonna
you know,
happen.
very classified thing, like the Bin Laden raid, you know, like that, you know, there wasn't, you know, many people against that, although, well, like he was really kind of like portrayed like, you know, just like, you know, one-sided story, you know, like the CIA initially like funding and training him, you know, is kind of like brushed over, where it was like, oh, well, he's been funding terrorists, you know, like, you know, let's just don't pay attention to how it started. This is just like the recent thing he's done, you know, world enemy number one. And I would have preferred him to stay alive in a prison cell. Like, he totally deserved to take shits on stainless steel toilets. How come I had to like eat bologna sandwiches? And like, if you ever want to piss me off, fucking give me a bologna sandwich. Unless I'm starving. If I'm starving, I'll like eat anything, and I will succumb to bologna, but I won't be happy about it. But I took shits on stainless steel toilets. Bin Laden should have done that. God damn it! You know, I'm just saying. You know.
Yeah, I feel like certain crimes should be punished in a way like you said, like, you know, spend fucking the rest of your life behind bars where you're never gonna get out, and you can just sit there and dwell on the bullshit that you know did. But yeah, I don't think I'm really for the death penalty unless somebody like is like a serial killer or a mass murderer and they're just like offing people left and right. I feel like we should be able to rehabilitate a significant amount of people, even though we don't really try. I think I think that obviously not everybody can just be forgiven and forgotten about, but at the same time, there's, you know, sometimes people are in a pinch and they fucking rob a convenience store because they gotta fucking feed their family or do whatever. And I'm not saying that that's wise or okay or moral or whatever. I'm just saying people fucking get desperate and do shit. So,
well, yeah,
if someone's out there doing that, then that's fine. Not fine. They serve their time. They fucking, you know, they should be considered, you know, back to square one. You know what I'm saying? Now, someone out there just robbing and killing and fucking going on sprees, that person, you know, whatever. If you,
there's other
can't capture the motherfucker, you gotta do what you gotta do. What's that?
They afford their inmates like I think Norway, and this is like one of the supposed controversies of like the Norway shooter. Like he's eligible for parole like every 10 years or some shit, but that dude ain't never getting out.
Right.
You know, they're like, no, you like murdered 72 people or whatever the number was. You know, we could do the same thing in America. There's like, you know, clear cases where like a Jeffrey Dahmer type, and it's like, yeah, you're doing life, you know,
right. That's what I'm
we'll
saying.
review you in 10 years.
But someone who,
I don't think 10 years is going to absolve your crimes, you know, and a lot of these people don't show remorse, so that just, you know, makes it easier for them to be denied.
Right. Well, a lot of them are also institutionalized because of the lifestyles they led, and they were in and out of jail as kids. And, I was in and out of juvenile a couple times, actually more than a couple times, but we won't get into that. And but you know, as an adult, I fucking, you know, I got to a point where if I got in trouble for the same thing again, the whole 3 strikes you're out type shit, which has ruined fucking countless lives, I realized just before, you know, I better get my shit together because one last time and I'm fucked. You know what I'm saying? So I stopped doing drugs. I got a good job. I fucking risked my life at work because it was such a dangerous job. And, you know, I made a lot of good money, but I missed out on my family life, and like I was stressed out all the fucking time, and I was still just as miserable. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Just the payoff either way is, you know, how do people deal with life and stress? Do they need a little bit of drugs or whatever to get them through it, or is working your fingers to
Well,
the
most
bone,
people, like,
doing it, or
like, remember those photos that Trump like had of like not Sudafed, but it was like some drug, that like Trump was obviously like
ephedrine or
getting
whatever.
high.
Yeah. Well, it's like diet drugs or whatever, like water pills, basically.
Well, I mean, I'm sure, dude, that dude looked like he was on cocaine sometimes. Like, he would be sweating, his face would be all fucking, and he'll be all, like, uppity and everything and talking out of his ass, but people, like, loved it because they're like, oh, this makes him real, he's talking about things and he has no fucking, clue how to talk about them. That's real, right? And, like, people don't even know, like, real shit, like, if it would hit them in the face, like it don't, like, I say that with movies a lot. Like, they won't even, like, know a good... America wouldn't know a good movie unless it, like, whacked them in the face. They just like this schlock, this repetitive, bullshit, and these remakings. And, oh, my God, the only good thing I could say about the new Matrix movie was, like, like, the power of love, and that's, like, it.
Well, you didn't think that it was kind of... not a slap in the face to the fans, but pointing a finger at the fans and saying, this is what you deserve because you guys bitch and complain about not getting what you want, like a story, but when you get a story, you bitch that the action's no good. So here you go, bitch. That's how I felt about it. So I liked it for that reason. Well, granted, the action wasn't good and the story wasn't like the best or whatever, but I think it was a good attempt of pointing the finger back at us fans for saying, if you guys keep consuming shit, you're going to keep getting shit. And, well, yeah, it was obviously that too, but what I'm saying, there's a couple scenes that really give a little wink at the audience saying, you deserve this shit. You know what I'm saying? Also, I watched past the credits. Did you watch past the credits?
No.
Okay, so at the end, it says, okay, so here's what we do. We turn the Matrix into cat videos. Yeah, it's just going to be internet cat videos, nothing but that. And then they end up using the term Catrix. And I released a video like a couple months back called the Catrix. And I thought that was kind of cute, but I mean, whatever. It's funny. I thought about using that and then putting a bunch of cat videos together, and
What they had something at the end of fucking The Matrix?
Yeah. At the very end, at the last, like the credits
talking
are over.
About cat fucking videos?
Yeah,
God.
The scene when, I guess this isn't really a spoiler, but in the scene where they're talking about what is The Matrix and how they can revamp it into a new game or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, there's a cut scene, like a scene that they had cut out of that, and they put it at the very fucking end, and they just go, well, why don't we just do cat videos, and call it the Catrix?
Oh my God.
And I thought that was hilarious. And that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what it was supposed to be from, what is her name? Lana Wachowski, I think. I think that's what she was doing. She was saying, listen, you motherfuckers, whenever there's a movie that comes out and it's supposed to be a pure action flick, you bitch that there's no story. And then when there's this thinky thought piece that comes out then the action doesn't hit right, it's too dull and blah, blah, blah. And there's no real happy medium. And I think that's what it was, is like the first Matrix, everybody's like, oh, it was the pinnacle of fucking great movies. I love the Matrix.
It was a good movie.
I think the Matrix 1 is probably in my top 5 or at least top 10, if not top 5. But I can still watch part 2 and 3 along with it and appreciate where it was going, even though it didn't, like, I'm satiated by the movies. I'm not like totally pissed off by them, but there's things where I wish they would have done that better, or I wish they would have followed this character a little more, or something like that. But that's just my opinion of it. You know what I'm saying? The people who directed it and had their vision, you know what I'm saying, and they had their story to tell, and maybe it was only supposed to be a one-off, and Warner Brothers was like, well, we need more because this is just such a money machine. Let's just belt them out. And maybe they did that on purpose. Maybe they're like, well, we'll give them what they want. They want dumb action. We'll give them dumb action. You know what I'm saying? They just want mindless fucking bullshit. It didn't need to be
like that. Well, like, there's this one YouTube channel that I'm watching called Screen Rant, and this guy does pitch meetings, and they're really entertaining. And the pitch meeting for fucking Matrix Resurrections was brilliant, and it brought up a couple good points. And I totally forgot one of them, but the one that I was going to bring up was how, like, in the middle of this guy, it's like a 6-minute video with this movie pitch, and halfway through it, about maybe a little more, he talks about the machine wars, how they were fighting each other, and the producer guy was like, "Oh wow, that sounds like a really good movie." And then it cuts back to the other guy, the other character he's playing. He's like, "Yeah, but back to this movie," like, and that, like, right there, the machine war, that sounded so awesome. That and it was like, and it was just used in the Matrix, like some shitty backstory, like, oh yeah, there's a machine war, right? And it's like, dude, the Matrix doesn't need to be about Neo. They could have had a side story, with the fucking machine wars. It doesn't need to be about Neo. They really forced that Neo shit in this new one. Like, it's like, oh yeah, he's super important. That's why the machines, did what they did. And it's like, oh my god.
I'm not saying this movie was good or great. I'm just saying what I liked about it is that it felt like it was very self-aware, and to me, it knew where it was going wrong, and it forced itself to take that path, so you could, like, it's kind of like scolding somebody for wanting something and saying, see, this is how it is.
No, what I mean? That is not how you produce a movie. Well, I know you're trying to go with an artistic, view of it and everything, but that's not the goal. You fucking make a good movie.
I'm not gonna lie. I wanted the Matrix 1, but better again. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, that wasn't the direction that it went. So I mean, what we got was,
it was kind of like a remake of the first one, but it, like, with different characters, but they're the same characters, really. But
well, I meant like I meant more extreme filmmaking. Like, how I don't know if you've seen, what is that movie? It's like the dude's rebuilt. Anyways, he's like working on himself, and he's got like cybernetic parts, and he gets like hacked and in his sleep, and like there's people throughout the movie that have like guns built into their arms, and anyways, the way they filmed that movie was so fucking badass. Like, he would grab someone, and then you'd see like their perspective of them getting slammed in through fucking table, or someone would get flipped over, and you'd see their, like, like, it felt like you were like in their mind, or like seeing through their eyes in the middle of a fight scene, and it felt like it drawed you in. I was expecting some more shit like that, instead of like the fucking weird energy push force
I remember
bullshit.
The other point that was really, really good was that I learned through the Screen Rant pitch meeting of this movie, and it's pretty much just a satirical bit, but there's a lot of truth in there, and that's what makes it so goddamn funny. But he's like the bullet time
super bullet time, yeah.
Well, that the new architect did, the bullet time was to show how fast Neo was moving, not the actual power itself being bullet time. But that was construed, differently in the new movie. They're like, no, you see, this bullet time was Neo's power, and he does the force push a lot instead of actually, fighting. You know, and that's why like they could have done a machine war thing. That little side story they had in the fucking shitty ass movie sounded like a much better concept than whatever the fuck they shat out. It's almost like when they came across that in the script and added that in there, they should have just they're like, actually, this makes a better movie, guys. Let's just start over from here.
Well, have you seen the Animatrix?
Yeah, I've seen the Animatrix, and that's what, like, there's side stories to be had. And the Animatrix was good, and that was a bunch of side stories.
Well,
like one
think
movie.
about that. The Animatrix wasn't a bunch of fucking kung fu shit. A lot of it was just teenage angst and some fucking questioning reality and, like, philosophical shit. And it wasn't even, like... I mean, obviously there was some action scenes throughout, but, like, the story of the robot war, that part, it was just kind of like, it felt like...
Was that in the Animatrix? I haven't seen the Animatrix in, like, forever.
Yeah, I haven't watched it recently, but I watched it so many times when it first came out, because I'm looking at the disc from here. It's the last movie on the far right.
Like, did they mention that in the Animatrix, or were you saying that they should have done the robot wars like the Animatrix?
They show the robot wars between the humans start, and then there's a part 2 where the robots are in their own matrix, like they're in like a virtual reality version of what we would call the Matrix, like a robot matrix. So they're fighting inside of their own matrix. Yeah, it's
all
weird.
The programs and everything, right?
Yeah, the programs and the robots.
Yeah,
themselves.
They could have branched off of that. Like,
well, I think that
doesn't need to be.
I think they kind of just touched on it because it's already been. Basically,
this
that was a
all
whole
about
episode.
Neo and Trinity.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be a love story, and I think that's kind of the whole new theme of action movies now. It's like it's got to be centered around a love story. Well,
it was a love story to begin with, so they didn't even introduce anything new because there was already, like, you know, like Trinity died at the end and Neo was blind, and they wrapped up the story and everything just nicely, and they could have done a side story. They didn't need to, like, continue it, like this resurrection shit. And actually, like, Alien Resurrection did a much better job than this fucking resurrection shit.
Yeah, I hate the title of it, but if you recall the ending of the third Matrix, or maybe it's the end of the second one, whenever he's talking to the architect, he's basically like, you're the 6th or 7th fucking one anyway. We just keep fucking restarting it with your dumb ass. We kill your ass and then we restart and your motherfucking ass fucks it all up. I think they're like on the 30th
that always
time.
Shows up in every Matrix.
Yeah,
and he's the latest anomaly.
Right. So, who's to say they didn't already do this 100 fucking times, and it's like a yearly thing? You know what I'm saying? So, maybe it's supposed to be like, you know how when Halloween came out, then he hadn't really planned on doing a Halloween 2, but they wanted more of it, so they did it, and then the following year it was like, let's do a totally different movie, and then people freaked out or like, holy fuck, we don't want that, we want more of the same shit we already saw. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it's like that,
well,
where
you know,
they wanted to do some more philosophical, mind-bending shit as opposed to the visual shit, you know, or action.
But I think Halloween Kills did a better sequel than this fucking Matrix shit. Like, you know, they even, you know, and the pitch meeting is pretty funny for the Halloween Kills as well. He's like, what the character that, you know, Laurie Strode, didn't plan on the firefighter showing up, you know, and this whole convoluted plan that she had of burning her house down with the Michael in it, and he's like, no, she didn't expect that, you know. But that was something I could still like suspend my disbelief over. It's just like, I don't know, they forced Neo in there.
You would want the motherfucker to be dead before the fire department got there. You wouldn't expect him to escape, but that's a whole different story. But yeah. So, I mean, that makes sense.
But what they actually did a good job, though, with the new sequel. Like, you know, like, it wasn't like, Busta Rhymes fucking doing jump kicks or whatever, the fucking, in that one.
Well, my girlfriend, she's a Michael hype. I put a fucking decal on her back window on the inside of her vehicle, and I think it was for her birthday, and she fucking flipped out. She loved it. She said she got in the car, started the car, looked in the mirror, and saw that, face looking at her like over the back of the seat, because I even did this. So I took a little piece of tape and rolled it up and stuck it to the little decal so I could I placed it, and then I'd sit in her seat with the mirror and try to line it up so it looked like it's looking over the back of her seat. So she saw that and fucking she loved it. So that shows you how much of a fan she is of it. She loved all the new movies. But me myself, I'm just like, eh. I'm more of a Freddy guy. The first few Freddy movies where he where he's more sinister and dark, but still got some kind of
less clownish.
Well, yeah, less like
he turned into like Beetlejuice towards the later movies, I think.
Like the first movie, you could tell he was like maniacal or something, like more than welcome to Prime. Well, I guess that's the third one, but I don't know, like the Freddy's Dead. I liked it because I was nostalgic of the earlier movies, and at the time when I saw it, I think it was the first 3D movie I got to see too, but at least the ending. And then, but I was like fucking 10 or 11 when it came out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I was a stupid ass kid. But then I watch it as an adult, like, man, this shit's fucking horrible.
That reminded me like the picture thing. The picture thing. I had a really quickly. In my last apartment, you needed to walk through this walk-in closet to get to the bathroom. It was kind of interesting. But in the shower, the drape that I used, I bought this like silhouetted image of like somebody standing on the other side, and it would occasionally startle new guests of mine and shit. And I always kind of like found that amusing.
That's fucking cool, Phil. I love shit like that.
Yeah, I'd only get them once though, but it was still worth it.
Yeah, I got like fucking tons of Freddy and Jason masks and stuff like that. I got one of her things was, it would be cool if one day I was sitting on the couch and I heard something and I look out the window and you're standing there in the Michael mask. I have the entire getup. I got the jumpsuit and all that shit. Oh, but I was like, no, because the way the climate is, someone's gonna call the cops and I'm gonna get shot, or one of our neighbors gonna shoot me. You know what I'm saying? So nah.
You know what I'm going to go as Halloween. I'm totally inspired to go trick or treat for Halloween 2022, and I'm going to go as. Do you have any guesses?
I have no idea.
I was going to go as Dick. The person that filed the malicious restraining order against me. I was gonna, make a mask of him and like maybe just cut out the eye holes and shit. And then I could have a stack of paperwork and I could yell at kids to stay 300 feet away from me because I'm gonna make some shit up about them. Right? I could freak out the kids and be like, man, I'm just trying to be like Dick. I'm just trying to be like Dick, and start like crying to myself or some shit. I need to get a megaphone too, because I used to have fun with my megaphone and like blow into like the microphone, like just to check if it was working. But I would like repeatedly do it for a little bit just to fuck around.
I've never used one of those before. Are they really fucking loud like they show on like movies and shit, or is it like
they could be loud because the funnel that they have, like if you're pointing it somewhere, they're going to hear that shit. But I just used it to kind of be goofy and everything. I remember like before Jimmy Dore did his little megaphone to his head. I would do that. I should probably unprivate some of my or make them public some of my older YouTube videos. But lately, this past, since this feud started between me and the sex club, people have been digging shit up from my past to try to discredit what's happening now, you know. So I'm just kind of like, you know, maybe I shouldn't release it with so many people trying to, you know, dissect my past, try to find some like flaw in it, which of course they could do, you know, and they'll probably be successful. But it's like, well, that issue was like, you know, 10 years ago, and the issue I'm having now is this recent shit with the sex club. And I don't know what my past has to do about any of that.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been abused and traumatized before, I guess. So it's like, you know, like I keep on getting the same treatment, and I'm really trying not to be a victim. I wanted to participate. It would have been a cool addition to the club. But now I'm fucking making sex toy names fucking legal phrases and shit. And that's another way I'm having fun too, is I'm like, you know, this one's emotional distress, and this one's monetary damage, and this one's prolonged suffering. And I'm naming sex toys because I'm just, you know, I'm weird like that. So this kind of situation is kind of perfect. On top of, I'm sorry I keep interrupting you. I know you want to say something, but just to like get it out, like my mom did me in a similar way after attacking me. Now it wasn't as severe with the sex club thing. They just filed a bullshit restraining order to stop my protest, is what I suspect. You know, I mean, I think it's pretty damn obvious, but, you know, just throw in I suspect anyway. But it kind of, you know, is very therapeutic. I'm having a hard time, you know, finding a therapist. I actually haven't even looked since like December, so I should probably get on that. But this is kind of my therapy now. Like they kind of turned this into my therapy, where I'm going to be protesting them. And I felt good about the 2 protests I did. I felt really good after I got home. I, you know, felt good about myself, and that's kind of what's important to me, you know. I mean, it's also like to give a warning to people and be a thorn in their side. It's many, many different reasons. But it's kind of cathartic, you know, kind of like letting out a nice cry. And it makes me feel good, at least when I was able to do it back in November. It's been like a month and a half now, and it's you know, but I need to do things slow and right, and do it the right way the first time, so I could have the outcomes that I want. So I'm not worried about it taking a little bit longer. Besides, it's preventing me from freezing my ass off at these protests. So, you know, we're just going to like skip past the winter here, and then, you know, in another like month and a half or 2 months, I'll be able to protest again.
Wow, it gets warm that early in Colorado?
Well, I mean, I remember February being the kind of like last of the shitty months. Once March hits, it's still going to be cold at night. And I'm still going to like freeze my ass off because, you know, they're having events until midnight. And this means that I need to stay there and protest. Although I'll probably have all my music and noise making shit off by midnight. But just, you know, hang out until the last car leaves, or, you know, till I had enough, and then just go walk home. And my walk home will be 2.5 hours. At least from this current location. I am having a hard time using my housing voucher, but then I just recently started speaking to my own landlord, which I'm kind of like, I don't have anything super positive to say, but I don't have anything super negative. You know, it just seems like they don't give a shit. So like, you know, kind of puts me, you know, I guess a little more on the negative side of my current landlord. But whatever,
well, he probably doesn't want to lose you as a tenant if you're paying rent. So that would...
Well, I was like, hey, could you help me use this voucher, you know, before the end of February? And they were like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then they were like, we'll call and talk to you tomorrow. And then I'm like, well, wait a second. Tomorrow's not a good day because I'm doing this chat with, you know, T-Rex. I didn't say that, but, you know, anyway. And then, so I told them to contact me tomorrow. So, you know, maybe I could upgrade to a 1-bedroom, you know, instead of living in this tiny box, just to have a little more space. You know, sometimes when I have a guest over, you know, if I'm having them over for the night and everything, having a separate room that I could retreat to, so I'm not being driven mad, because I just got to have my alone time. I got to have my alone time, and when I don't have that, I'm not functioning properly. But when I have that, I do function properly, and I'd like to function properly, you know.
Yeah, I feel like everybody needs alone time. For certain people, maybe a little more than others, but I feel like, you know, some people say, I don't need that, you know what I mean? But that's bullshit, because you see them get frustrated
just like
when they're in a
I
group
never
of
get
people.
sick, and it's like, no, you've been sick before, definitely like once this past 5 years. You've been sick once, you know, because you're fucking human.
Well, I was kind of getting at it. It's like, like,
I'm sorry to throw your train of thought off.
No biggie. Man, I'm a stoner.
Fucking Chris, god damn it.
There's, fuck it, I can't remember what I was trying to say.
It's all good. Maybe ponder it, but I mentioned the blood clot really quick.
I can't remember. Fucking, like I said,
I had that blood clot in my arm, and now I get to style with this sexy arm band with thumb holes in it, but it's only on one side, you see. So it's kind of cool. It's black, makes me look a little sexy. Plus, I still like get a swollen right leg. It's just like slightly, ever so slightly swollen. It's like probably 2 centimeters bigger than my other leg on the left that's not damaged. But I wear a compression sock, and they're both on my right side, so I get to like style with this shit. I was thinking something weird like that.
So is that the direction that your blood pumps from your right to your left? Because that seems kind of dangerous. That seems like...
I just know, like years ago when I got attacked, I had the blood clot in my right leg, and then I must have jammed my elbow on something, and I ruptured a vein, and that's when I got the fucking blood clot. Like, and it was like December 5th. I went to court and mediation with this, and I didn't know it was a blood clot. I thought it was first an infection, and then I had a follow-up appointment where they ordered an ultrasound, and then it was discovered, the clot's there.
Damn, that's scary. I would be terrified. I'm a bitch, though, when it comes to shit like that. I'd rather just not know. What's that?
Well, like, I couldn't extend my arm all the way. It was a real pain in the ass, but I thought it was an infection. And then I tried going to the ER, and then I had, like, some, weed on me. So they're like, well, you can't come in with this. It's like, well, I ended up going home because I was seeing the doctor the next day, and then, I was seeing my primary care doctor. So I was like, okay, I'll just, like, make the appointment. I've had this for a few weeks anyway, so what's another day? And so then my doctor was like, no, you should go to the ER. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll, leave everything, not on my property here, but not over at the ER either. So anyway, I pretty much had to dispose of, marijuana, and then fucking make my way to the ER. And I got treated there with some blood thinners, where I'm like taking this Xarelto now, and I cut myself shaving, and I swear I didn't, like, I put one of those knee band-aids on, one of those oversized band-aids you put on a straight knee typically, and that like shit was saturated.
Like a chin strap or something? Holy shit.
Yeah. I look pretty retarded. Well, like I am, a retard, but I looked it too, because I don't necessarily look like a retard, but I swear I am. But anyway, towels were soaked up with blood. I wouldn't stop bleeding. I bled on my chair, and I tried cleaning it, and it's like, man, now it looks like it like fucking dripped right where my crotch is. So now it looks like I fucking like had my period
Yeah, that's pretty
Just
scary.
describing my place. I mean, I just need to throw it in the wash, but I need to wait for a good pile of laundry because I just got done washing a bunch of clothes and I'm kind of laundried out right now because that one of the dryers was broken, so I had done 3 loads and I'm expecting to this is going to take a little more than 2 hours, and it was like it's going to take about 4 hours because one of the dryers was out, so then I had to do 3 loads, but then separately dry 3 loads, and I was like, fuck. This is kind of like the ghetto, but I hear they have nicer places, my landlord, but this is kind of like the ghetto. Like, I see those, like, needle caps everywhere, and a lot of my neighbors do dope, and then you got some other neighbors that are toxic, that like to get in people's business, but be malicious about it,
Yeah,
and it's just, like, too much.
It's one thing if you're in someone's business to help them, like, hey, I noticed you're kind of fucking grumpy. You need to talk to somebody about some shit. But yeah, to be all up in someone's business and then go fucking blabbing shit and then fucking bring other people in on it.
Yeah.
I just don't get that shit.
Well, there's that neighbor that I kind of put in his place, and I was like making comments like him, like the only like he was calling me a rapist and a pedo for fucking sleeping with someone my own age. A fucking couple, like he was all jelly, clearly, but then, his jelly turns into anger, and then turns into stupidity, almost like the voodoo people, but, well, exactly like the voodoo people, but yeah, I kind of was like, at least I don't fantasize about, fucking, like how I'm going to kill someone if they enter my place, because he would always talk about that shit, and I threw back in his face that there was some neighbors there were some strangers to me, like trying to break down one of my other neighbors' doors. And this was the person living right above him that he's been feuding with. He's been feuding with this person above him because she has dogs. And anyway, it's all just stupid, petty bullshit. And there was people trying to break her door down. And then he like I called the cops that day because there was like 5 people, and I'm just like, look, I think you guys need to show up. And someone's trying to break one of my neighbor's doors down. That's like all I know about the situation. So I do, what I thought was right. Yeah. And then the cops come, and then the dude that lives underneath her starts talking to the people and like befriending the people that were trying to break her door down and shit. And it's like, what the fuck? Is this the kind of neighbor you are? And I threw that back in his face. I threw like truth in his face, and I haven't seen him. He's been like hiding for like fucking months now at this point, since like November, or maybe that happened in October. It was around the end of October, beginning of November, 2021. So, but yeah, I haven't seen the dude. He's been hiding. I've seen he like took garbage out once. And then, like, he slammed his storm door, and then he slammed his normal door after, like, he gave me a look really quick. But he has a hard time looking at me now, even. And I noticed that from the voodoo owner, too, during mediation. Because I was really, like, on his case of how horrible of a person that he is for doing all this. And then he stopped making eye contact.
That's exactly what happened to my stepdad when I smashed his sternum with a fucking geode. He held a gun to my mom's head the night before, and I was like, look, if he fucking gets drunk and falls asleep in his lazy boy again, I'm gonna smash his fucking skull. So I'm like 8 years old, and this thing weighs like 25, 30 pounds, and I have it up on my chest, and I'm gonna try to lift it up, and I'm gonna brain this motherfucker. And I walk up to where his feet are, you know what I'm saying? I was literally just gonna throw it dead in his face. And so I picked it up. I tried to pick it up over my head, and I started to lose it, so I just pushed it forward, and it hit him square in the fucking sternum. And he just wakes up like, oh! You know what I mean? It's probably like if someone fucking jumped on your chest and just cracked
knocked out of him, huh?
It broke his sternum. It hit him so hard.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
when it hit the floor, it broke open. It was just a big giant piece of quartz, but when it broke open, it was a geode inside. We didn't even know it was like that until I broke it on his ass. But after that, that motherfucker wouldn't even look me in the fucking eye after that shit. I mean, he had sexually abused me, you know, a couple times, quite a few times before that. And
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's nothing, whatever. But
I'm sorry to hear it. Like, you know, again.
But anyways, so this was gonna be like the time where I'm like, I'm putting a fucking end to this dude. He's not gonna hurt my mom, and he's definitely gonna stop fucking with me. You know what I'm saying? And that motherfucker, my mom went to the divorce lawyer or whatever, got papers drawn up and fucking filed for divorce the next fucking day. After she spent all day in the hospital making sure he wasn't gonna die. And then the next day, while he was still in the hospital, she went and got papers and served his ass at the hospital. So I felt that was
papers
for divorce.
Papers for what?
For divorce.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
That like triggered her to go, you know what? I'm gonna fucking stand up for me now too. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's a problem sometimes in abusive relationships where they have a hard time standing up for themselves.
Yeah, I think she realized that we're in a fucking extremely dangerous situation. If I had to go to the extreme where I felt like I had to kill a motherfucker to be safe, she knew she was putting her kids through some shit. You know what I'm saying? And he was the problem. She's got mental issues, but she slapped me here and there. She swatted me with like a fucking spatula when I was talking shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't really consider that. I mean, it depends.
You know, I get
the context. The context matters. Like if the kid comes home from school every day, you know, and then they get like smacked, you know, that's probably a bad thing. But if they're out of line and everything,
yeah, I never got smacked by her
spanking,
unless I was.
But you know,
talking.
I don't have kids, so what do I know? Like I'm an asshole like that, I guess. I mean, I would definitely approach things differently than I have in the past. You know, just I didn't know how to handle it, and I was still young and dumb, you know, even in my early 20s.
Right. Well, you also learn from how you were treated too. You know what I'm saying? But
I got
the hardest thing
is
like treating people right, even though you've been treated wrong. That's the hard. Yeah. That's fucking tough as fuck. You know what I mean? It's not resorting to fucking violence or fucking name calling or berating someone for some little bullshit.
Well, come on. I call people assholes still. Like, you know,
people are assholes.
Definitely, you know. Yeah, people can be assholes. Like, I need to really get that clip from Spaceballs. Because, you know, like, you know how he's like, I'm surrounded by assholes. And I could be like, look, this is, you know, a live footage view of Voodoo Leatherworks and all the members inside, you know, and just kind of play that clip.
Yeah,
like a little joke.
I like how you did that little Venom 2 scene. That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Oh man, I was cracking up when I did that. Like, that was so fucking funny because, like, yeah, the movie just came out too, and also like I'm like using the word dick a lot, you know. So it's like it was like perfect.
Yeah, that shit had me cracking up.
Oh man, yeah, I've been laughing a whole lot. Like I've never really been happier. Although like this COVID, you know, being sick last week just kind of fucked me up. It's fucked me up more mentally than anything physically because I'm beyond the physical stuff. But it really like it put me in a crappy place, and I'm having a hard time climbing out of it. And you know, I'm trying and everything, but I was. Like, before I got sick last week, I was, like, literally laughing out loud. Like, just, I must have sounded like a madman to my neighbors if they were near my door or anything like that. Outside having a cigarette, listening to Chris fucking giggle and everything.
I was gonna borrow a cup of sugar, but then I heard him laughing maniacally, and I thought, that's probably not sugar.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been just trying to have fun and literally use this as my therapy. Like I was done wrong like this in a similar way. So this is all very therapeutic. And I was unfairly unable to defend myself. Like it was so fucked up. Like I don't want to get all into it again, but it's like, and one thing I really do hate is being the victim. Like I said earlier in the first part of this, like I would rather have things to brag about than to bitch about. And I know it's easy to say I'm the common denominator here and all these things, but I just wrote a recent blog about fucking this dude that spoke about like randomly like wanting to shoot people and shit, and then like actively trying to buy a gun off of someone in the neighborhood that were going door to door like handing out flyers and shit. Just an easy, mindless job. And this dude just wanted to shoot people, and that freaked me out. And I reported it to my superior, that reported it to the boss guy, and he fired us both. And it was just so weird. And it's like, okay, I thought that was the right thing, but apparently when somebody's like, hey, I want to kill people and I want to shoot them all and saying fucked up shit that's freaking me out, I should just keep it to my fucking self, because nobody really gives a shit, I even, told the cops, and it's like, like, well, what do you want us to do about it? And I'm like, I don't know, like, or at least at first I claim that, and then I remember Matt Dillhunty doing a wellness check on me, and it's like, well, why don't you do a wellness check on him? And they're like, I guess we could do that. And it's like, well, why are you asking me for suggestions in the first fucking place? Yeah. There was a dude that was like talked about randomly shooting people, and I'm letting the authorities know about it. I don't know what else you want more from me after that. But apparently that was the wrong thing to do, because the dude not only fired us, but he gave me a hard time about paying me too. And I had a fucking like, I don't know if it would technically be extortion, but I'm like, fucking like, pay me, otherwise I'm going to review you negatively. And it was the only thing I could really do to try to get paid, and it worked, thankfully, I guess.
I got locked out of a business once because I threatened the boss who held my check. So I was getting public aid. My daughter was just born, and I started a job at a junkyard. I was a engine ripper, so basically they would pull the car in, and I would take off the catalytic converter, the muffler, the radiator, and the starter. So I would take all that off, and then they would move it down over to the next guy, and I'd move to the next car, and then the next guy would take over and do some other shit, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, I did that job for quite a while. I got really good at it, and then anyways, I was getting public aid at the same time, but he thought that since I was getting public aid that I owed him some of the money that I was making, and I found out that he was like holding part of my check back. So I was like, I want the fucking money you owe me. And fucking he was like, what are you talking about? And I told him, what I just told you, and then he was just like, oh no, that you're not getting that money, And so I was like, well, if you don't give me the money, then you're not going to walk out of here. You're not going to walk out of here. I stressed that he would not be walking out of the room that day. And so he called his son into the room, and his son was terrified of me. And he was like, escort him out and lock him out of the building and blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm not leaving until you pay me my money that you owe me, and then I will leave graciously. I'm just saying that you're not going to walk out of this room unless I get paid today, and I'm not walking out of this room unless you pay me. So you just pay me and this will all be over, It's the money you fucking owe me. Yeah. And then his son's like, Dad, pay him. What the fuck is wrong with you? Just pay him. He owed me like $500 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I'll fucking reverse your goddamn knees, you old motherfucker. You pay me my fucking money. So
I didn't go the violent route.
Well, I didn't want to, but it just went that way, and so fucking he gave me the $500 or whatever it was like $450 or whatever, and I walked out, and as soon as I literally, you could hear the thing, the door clicked behind me, and then you could hear his son locking the door behind me. I was like, you guys are the ones that fucking did that, because you could have just fucking paid me the money that you owed me in the first fucking place and not have me resort to fucking threatening you. Hey, give me my money. What money? I don't owe you any money. No, the money you owe me, you need to pay me, you know, and then it escalates to that, you know. If they would have called the cops, the cops would have been like, pay him his fucking money, dumbass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't think it was technically extortion because I wasn't like trying to get like unearned money out of him. I'm like, just
that's
pay
what
me
I'm saying.
You owe me. I did like 2 days of walking around for your ass. You fucking you're giving me like $45 a day or some shit. Give me my $90. Like, you know, god damn, you know. It's like and then I thought I was doing the right thing, and then like I keep thinking that I'm doing the right thing, and there was this one douchebag recently that was like, you know, I need to really say who he is because this is some truth here. He goes by the name of Silk and Sisal, Sisal, and on a lot of places. Like he was following me on my FetLife, then going over to my Twitter, harassing me there, then going on over to my YouTube videos and making shitty ass comments. Like the human interaction one, where I'm on a bus a couple times. He's like, oh, this dude is talking to random people on a train. Like, he's not even fucking, like, watching the fucking things.
Well,
and he's just making all-around shit-ass comments. Like,
even if you are talking to random people, and even if it was a train and not a bus, what the fuck does that even matter? You're just making polite conversation. And that one where you talked to the guy out front, I thought was really good. It was very constructive for both sides. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why I actually posted it, because of that one interesting interaction, and I just didn't edit it. So yeah, you see my boring ass first bus trip, and then I run into a friend on, well, like more like an acquaintance. He was the store clerk at the local kind of grocery store where I was homeless near. And so he saw me often. This was years back when I was homeless and in a vehicle. So I ran into him on the bus a few times, and that just happened to be one of them. You know, so I actually knew that person somewhat, not really a friend, but just the friendly grocery store worker that deserves way more pay than whatever he's making now. You know, like, and then I was talking about because it was uploaded, I think, November 15th, but it was recorded on the 13th. And it was the day before that I got into, and there's some clues to what happened with Voodoo, because I explained exactly, I'm going to, I think I was talking to him about, doing exactly what I did, hey, I want to label this one person an asshole, and then be done with it. And, I give you, warning out of, to just be respectful and everything. So I'm not just plopping this on him out of nowhere. I thought I was being very adult about it. And then I get hit with a bunch of childish shit. And it's like, fuck, this is not the community I thought I was trying to be a part of. It still shocks me to this day. I'll send you that screenshot, but it just, that shit just happened a few days ago.
Well, it doesn't really matter which community it is. There's always, even in a community of highly educated people, like in academia, motherfuckers are cutthroat as fuck. You know what I'm saying? So people are selfish and fucking backstabbing and lying and fucking fraudulent and just so. And a lot of it stems from selfishness, you know what I'm saying? Because they want what they want. And you got to figure in that type of community, what it's built around, you know what I'm saying, is basically like hedonism and pleasure, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
And that's basically like one of the major things that we all look for out of life is that dopamine rush.
Yeah, and they
that,
just arbitrarily decided
feeling.
I shouldn't have any of that. You know, like I shouldn't have any healing. You got to be a 100% perfect person. Can't screw up. He even admitted in mediation because the mediator asked him. They're like, so did Chris like get orientated on the rules or anything like that? And he was like, no. It's like, okay, you know, sounds very fair or whatever.
Yeah, so it seems like they just gave you fucking not a fair shot, and I don't know. I just.
And then you're trauma. Like I don't even want, like, even if they come kissing my ass, and this is what started off the protest, because I actually said in my messages, if you read the transcripts or if anyone does, in the transcripts, it's like, hey, I'm going to try to confront you guys in person anyway, and I want you to say this to my face. You know, but then after some more thoughts, which I always am very thoughtful, or I think I'm very thoughtful, who knows, you know, maybe I need to think more.
Well, if you get around to it, it's more than most.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, best case scenario, they like kiss my ass and everything, and they apologize, and then, you know, I still wouldn't feel safe in there, is the thing. So, you know, protesting is kind of like, you know, the only thing I got, really, you know, because it was something that I wanted to be a part of. I could have been a creative, interesting character to have along, but you decided this other path for me, you know. And that's kind of like the story of my life, is like the world is what we make of it for ourselves and also others. I feel that phrase is complete now with that last little addition, because often, like you know, for example, like if I came over to your house and like chopped your arm off, you would live life without an arm. Yeah, and that was a choice that I made for you in this hypothetical. I'm not saying
right. Yeah, and it would make life difficult in a lot of ways for me, and not really change your life at all for a huge decision that I'm not part of, right? Which happens all the time.
And I often say,
with government.
like, I've made my own mistakes, man. Like, I made a lot of mistakes, but the kind of mistakes that I make and the punishment that I receive is always out of proportion, on top of just having bad things happen to me in a little higher rate than the average person. And I kind of, when I tried to explain this to people in the past, I remember an example I used of like flipping coins, and like heads is something good and tails is something bad. And there is that one person out there that keeps on flipping tails. All right. You know, and I feel that I'm like one of those people.
Yeah, I feel you.
Like, what happened to this fucking sex club shit? Like, I mean, I can't get beyond it. I was going to label someone an asshole. You guys said that we could fuck anyone off. So I want to fuck this dude off that treated me poorly, I feel. I've given it much thought. And then with very little thought, I'm very sure, you know, they just, you make fun of sexual assault victims. Well, could you go into details? No, we can't. We're not going to. And we're not going to allow any fucking correcting of the record or anything, just like, you know, adults. You know, children wouldn't do that. And, you know, and then if you decide to counter that with a protest, we're going to fucking lie about you, you know, and try to get you thrown in jail and all this fucked up shit. And it's like, oh my God, this is not the community I really like. You advertising yourself as something, and what I'm getting and seeing and experiencing is something like different.
It sounds like shit that my sisters would have done to me when I was a child, like when I was 10.
Yeah,
and they
so
were
childish.
Like 7
like,
and 6, or say 6, 9, and like 13. You know, they would do all these weird shit. Because my older sister, she was considerably older than all of us, and she could manipulate the other two because they looked up to her. You know, and you know, it's crazy how easy it is to do that, and then people grow up and you think, oh well, they're adults now. No, they're still fucking little children doing the same bullshit.
Because they got taught that way, like as a child, you know, like that's what I don't like about the Santa Claus thing, because they may stop believing in the Santa Claus thing, but they're going to buy all this other propaganda. And that's what I was kind of complaining about, like, how we lie to kids, and we have this whole system, like, go track Santa, find out where he's at, delivering presents, and it's like, that's propaganda, or that's priming people to believe in propaganda. There's no other way to do good by kids or to do nice things. We can't just do something nice. It is Santa fucking, delivering it. Why don't we take credit for being nice? We should take some credit for being nice.
You know what?
Why is that such a bad thing?
I had a Christian friend that said that same thing. I'm not giving Santa Claus my credit, blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to teach my kids about Santa, which he did, but he did anyway. I taught my kid about Santa, but I think that I gave her the immediate first out. So the first time she was like, "Is Santa real?" Hell yeah, he's fucking fake as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, so, cause she, kids are smart. They start catching on real quick. But it's when you drag that out. No, we gotta force it to be real. Like, my mom was like, "Oh, if you don't believe in Santa Claus, you don't get any Christmas presents." Like, I'm 14, Mom. Cut this shit. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
So, like,
but it also sets
I think
people
it
up
depends.
to believe, like my buddy. I have a buddy, Jeff, that's like pining over some fucking pianist in Israel, and it's totally unrealistic, and it sounds crazy every time he talks about it. And I try not to bitch about it with others like I am right now, but it does get on my nerves, and it kind of brings me down, because it's like the dude sounds so crazy, because he's like, I was watching a live stream, and then I hit the like button, and then she reacted right afterwards, and it's like he's making connections that aren't quite there. He's like, I thought she was really into me, and he ended up sending her a lot of money. And anyway, he's all like, with the he's so warped by propaganda. The one that I was trying to talk about was the propaganda that, the Palestinians have thousands of rockets, and they're shooting them over into Israeli land that they stole from the Palestinians. But don't think about that. It's Israeli land. And it's like, well, a rocket isn't as destructive as a missile. Like, a missile will bring down a fucking building or a skyscraper or some shit. Sink a ship. A rocket, it would probably take lots of rockets, and they're not guided like missiles. And they just don't have the same punch, and they end up landing in a lot of empty area, and that's the propaganda. They don't mention the Iron Dome shooting most of those rockets down, and the few that get through, it's like they land on, like an empty field, like.
Right.
But my friend is so, like, warped by the propaganda. He's like, oh, this Israeli chick, she's in danger. I fucking, like, yeah. Anyway,
right, more well protected than we are.
Yeah. It's like, it's just such a non-worry. But he's also like thinking that this chick is like a viable option, and he's not even like looking locally. And he was dealing with an abusive woman. His wife died from, I think, COVID. They put pneumonia. But this was like April of 2020. So this was like, everything was confused, and lots of mistakes were made.
Well,
but anyway,
a lot of people die of both.
For like 17 days. Yeah. Well, she was on a ventilator for 17 days, and that doesn't sound like a typical pneumonia case. Like, I had pneumonia for like 2 days, and in 2019.
Well, if you get something on top of it, so, like if you get COVID and pneumonia at the same time because of the symptoms that the symptoms that COVID causes, and then you're more susceptible to developing pneumonia from it. So it's more extreme cases. That's pretty much how my brother-in-law died from it. They marked it down. I mean, it was COVID, but he died of pneumonia. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of,
they said they
kind of a double whammy.
But there was a lot of defective tests in the beginning, though, too. So it's like, well, fuck. Now, now I still don't believe it. But whatever. They put pneumonia down, but she was very abusive to this dude, and she was always putting him down. So he's like the way abused male. And he just kind of going crazy off of all the propaganda. Like, he's on Facebook all the time. He's thinking this pianist 30 years younger than him is like pining over him. He's like, well, you know, I have the image on my Facebook of this blue hat, and she mentioned something about blue, and don't you see, Chris? She's like sending me signals, and it's like, oh my God, please stop talking about this. You're making me really bummed out.
Yeah, people, connect dots where they're not really there, or they see what they want to see because, well, I mean, we all are delusional to some extent. You know what I'm saying? It's knowing whether or not we're being realistic or rational when we're having those feelings. Like, everybody wants to be liked or loved, or think that, oh, that person said they like the color blue and I'm wearing a blue hat, so she must be talking about me, type of shit. You know,
yeah.
You know, we all want to make those connections because it makes us feel
the human brain is always looking for patterns.
Yeah,
we're really good at pattern thinking, but
we're also really good at connecting dots that aren't really there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted there.
No. I was saying, yeah, like I was agreeing, like connecting dots that aren't there, like that's totally like what this dude is doing. And
that concludes the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, which will be released very soon. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe and hit the bell notification, then share it around to help this channel grow. Thanks for watching. See you next time.